Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's get straight into your sport. Now, the Premier Soccer League postponed yesterday evening's DSTV Premiership fixture between TS Galaxy and Mamelodi Sundowns, which was scheduled for 7:30 at the city of Mbombela in Mpumalanga. This follows an accident involving the TS Galaxy team bus and another motor vehicle on Tuesday afternoon. The PSL made the decision after considering the extraordinary circumstances following that accident on the N4 route. Now, details regarding the rescheduled fixture will be communicated in due course. So joining us in studio is TS Galaxy head coach Ramović and the owner and club chairman Tim Sukazi. Gentlemen, thank you so much for making time. When we read the news of the crash that took place on Tuesday, we were shocked at what happened. Let's just start with the well-being of the team. Coach, how is everyone doing at the moment?
Sunny Bonani to all of you, and it's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, it was a very sad thing, but all in all, we know that we have to get ready still. But I think to postpone the game, it was the best thing what we could do, because also to respect of the family from the woman that passed away, and it would be not okay if they see us now to play still and pretend like everything is fine, because it is not fine, because we lost a person. So, and it's a very sad, but all in all, we will try our best. We will get all the information what we can get about the kids, family, and we will try to help, try to get everything what is in our hands, and yes, and make it the best for the family. Even it's almost impossible, because if you lose mother, it's very sad. It's very painful.
It's very tragic, you know. And Chairman, the details surrounding the crash are still quite sketchy. What exactly happened?
I would like to answer that, but I'm tempted to ask Coach Siad to just give an explanation, because he was there. He sits at the front of the bus, so he saw it all happening. I think it will only be fair if the man who was inside the bus, could narrate exactly what happened.
Please take us through those details, Coach.
The thing that we drove on the line to Mbombela, and we were very close to come there. But suddenly on the other line, a car went to our line and drove to us. So it means that the bus driver had three options: to go on the left side, but it will be like you will fall into the hill, or you start to drive straight, and the risk it will be that we crash together. Yeah. And our bus driver, he did the best he could, so he tried to avoid to the right side, and suddenly the driver went also and tried to get back into her line. So it could be, I don't know, but it could be that maybe she fall asleep, and then she came to our line, and then she woke up and tried to get back to her line. Yeah. So I don't know what happened, why she came to our line. And yeah, it is very sad, but these things happened, like I said it.
Sure. Very, very tragic, and of course, according to you and how you narrate this, the bus was actually in the right. They weren't in the wrong. It was, unfortunately, the other vehicle that came onto your lane. But now, in terms of the postponement of this fixture, what do you think were the extraordinary circumstances that led to this approval of the fixture? Because we know in previous instances, many other clubs were not granted a postponement when there were unfortunate incidences within their team. What did you detail in your letter that made the PSL grant this postponement?
Yeah, I would honestly ask you to at least state which of those incidents, because when making my request, I asked certain questions to the league as to how they dealt with certain situations in the past. You know, in my case, I asked about Madisha and Amazulu. I don't know if you're referring to that as well.
I am, yes.
Okay, so when I asked how they dealt with it, the league told me that, look, in Madisha's case, coincidentally, they were going to play against TS Galaxy. Maybe it was 2-3 days before our match against Sundowns. They said Sundowns wrote to the league and advised the league that Madisha, the player, has passed on. However, the family is disputing the fact that he is no more. They wanted to conduct DNA tests. So therefore, the league was hard-pressed to postpone a game when the family of the person who is said to be deceased says, our son is alive. You would recall that instance. And you'll remember as well that it took a month. I think it was buried a month later or so. You know, so it could have been preposterous of the league to postpone a game and say because someone is passed on, while the family says, no, he's alive. So that was the issue. And then I also asked, now recently with Bongintuli, why was he not postponed? I mean, the Amazulu, then the league advised again that the Amazulu were offered a postponement, but the chairman of Amazulu, after due consideration, came back to say, no, they don't need a postponement. So it was on the strength of that those games were not postponed. So in our case, we narrated, you know, the trauma and distress that our players' technical team, you know, had gone through. You know, only when I arrived at the scene, I mean, our team was stuck there for 2 hours, and the board of the deceased was in the car for 3 hours. You can imagine that scenario. You know, the players were really, really in a traumatic state of mind. When I got to training, because we had to prepare for a game, you could see, obviously in their eyes, I mean, our coaches, I could see their eyes were big. You know, they were very, 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 very traumatized. So I looked at that. I knew that mentally we are not in a good state. But in any event, like our coaches also indicated, you know, if a person had passed on, we, you know, as football, we don't exist in isolation. We exist within human beings, and therefore the spirit of humanity also needs to thrive in our workings as football custodians. So these are the things that, you know, we put forward to the league, and they considered. And I'm forever grateful to the league, because really the message is very clear that football, we are not a silo to life. You know, we have always to be considerate for one, more especially for traumatic instances and situations, but then also for other affected people. We may not know them. It's irrelevant. A life was lost. You know, for that, I'm grateful. And it also shows, you know, that the powers that be at the league, being football people themselves, you know, they realize all these kind of things and had to make a decision, you know. So whoever was involved, we wrote to the CEO. I'm sure she tabled, you know, to her exec and the chairman, and the decision was made. And in my view, it was a good decision under the circumstances, and we thank the league. I think the right message was communicated to the public.
No, absolutely. And I mean, the question and discussion of consistency is something then that would be outside of your hands. You know, it's something that would be then communicated with the PSL. But of course, with this postponement, coach, it doesn't make things easy now for the team, because you weren't able to play against Chiefs after the AFCON tournament, with Bafana Bafana, coming back a week later. Now the postponement with Sundowns, there's also a fixture from last season. How do you then prepare for all of these matches that chances are going to be playing one after the other?
I think that everything else, it will be much easier as to play the game. Like yesterday, after this incident, when we have a picture in front of our eyes that the woman died actually in the car. So we tried to help, we tried to do something, but we could not, because they advised us to wait on the ambulance, everything. And then if you see these ones, and if you know them, if you get also the information that she had 2 kids, and then they came also there to see that their mother actually died. You know, everything else is not that much important. I think the best thing is that you show this kind of respect to the family, to show actually the respect for yourself, that you know God took a life in one of the best places, but we lost actually probably a very nice human being. So, and if you see these kind of things, the most important thing is not this kind of show and soccer and everything. The most important thing is exactly the real life. And this is where we stick. And I think that this is the message that our club drives humanity. And this is the most important thing.
And understandably so, you know, we're not disregarding that, but we have to look at the time pressures of the league, you know, and the fact that it needs to be concluded. So with the upcoming match against Richards Bay, is that going to be affected? Have you also asked for a postponement for that encounter?
No, we haven't. And the reason, I think, is pretty much obvious. You have already alluded to it. One, there's a problem of the fixture congestion. So while we have been granted, you know, at least this an indulgence insofar as this match of yesterday was concerned. However, you know, it is within reason for us not to ask for a further postponement, you know, or 4 or 5 days later. At least, you know, the situation would have calmed down. The picture, I hope, would have disappeared a bit, you know, amongst our players, our coaches, management, and so forth and so on. So we will go to Durban tomorrow, and we will honor the match against Richards Bay. And hopefully our players mentally would have recovered.
Because they were provided with counselling and all the interventions that they needed, right?
I got that question a lot, Chloe. So the reality is as follows. The accident happens. We are in a match zone. We are preparing for a game. The game is not postponed. We had to train in the evening to prepare to play the match.
So you went from accident to preparations,
yes,
and nothing to do with counselling and getting the players?
No, we had to play a game. The priority at the time, by rules of the league, is the game is fixtured, it is there. However, upon assessment, we made a request to the league. We didn't know what would be the outcome. It means then we continue with our preparation. Only towards midday, then the following day, the league took a decision to postpone. Then we had to reshuffle our schedule, i.e. we are in Mbombela. We have to prepare for Richards Bay anyway. So we had to take advantage of the availability of everyone and train in Mbombela to start with, preparing for Richards Bay. Then come back to our main base in Johannesburg, where after we have to go to Richards Bay tomorrow. You know, so there's been not much time to go through and find the proper and most appropriate counselors. I'll tell you, people think it's easy. The fact that the person is a social worker, is counseling people, you know, in marriage and what, does not make them experts and does not put them in the best position to counsel young professionals, footballers at that, who would have gone through this. You need a special counselor at that. I've seen in football, I've been involved, people being called in to counsel players in traumatic situations. They just talk their own thing, irrelevant, and just make worsen the situation. So we would rather err on the side of caution and wait for the right time, most likely next week, because we'll have the full week. But in any event, we have counseled people before. So we did our own counseling, and we did that before with some considerable amount of success. So we also did our part. However, next week we'll try to see if we can find the most relevant expert for that.
Sure. I know now our time is up, and it seems not appropriate to even ask about what's happening with you, coach, and the coach of Mamelodi Sundowns, Rulani Mokoena. But do you believe, as we just wrap things up, that there could be some middle ground that could be reached, especially with the back and forth and how you have been at loggerheads with one another?
It's not easy now to answer the things because about these traumatic things, and if you see the real life actually. But I would answer you. Your question is again someone that undermines you and feels great to provocate you and be sarcastic. I don't think that this is the right way And if you see that that my players also now understand that don't let anyone feel comfortable disrespecting you. So it means the fact is, I only talk about the facts. A colleague that treats you, a colleague that disrespects you, a colleague that undermines you. I think that you should always raise your voice and say the facts and how the things is. But after a while, I also learned that if he wants to advertise, his ignorance and his inferiority complexity, you don't actually have to do a lot of things. You just let him talk. And this is my last thing.
Coach, I am getting into trouble, but thank you there. Strong words, and thank you for handling, this unfortunate incident in the manner that you did. And of course, we will hear from the PSL when those postponed fixtures will take place. But as you've heard right now from Tim Sukazi, the match against Richards Bay will definitely be taking place. Thank you so much, Coach. Thank you so much, Tim. And of course, do enjoy the rest of the viewing on the channel. From myself, Oli, and the entire team, it's good night for now.